Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes, Jackie.
Yeah, can you see the screen, right? Yeah, perfect. Welcome everyone. I am Jackie, and let me walk you through the agenda first. And we first introduce the rind and Hanoi ecosystem introduction, and fireside chat, and Q&A session. And sorry. There we go. Starbright is founded in 2010 in Silicon Valley, and we have more than 600 chapters in more than 125 countries in the world. The cornerstone of our community is we organize event monthly, inviting local investors and innovators and educators share their journey to the local founders. And we share values that give first, don't take, and make friends, not contact, help others before yourself. These are the speakers attending our event globally, and these are the companies that attended our event. And huge thanks to the sponsor and partner of this event, Founders Lair. And Founders Lair is a platform that people can find startup ecosystem insights, and you can connect with the people who are in the local startup ecosystem. Here's our in Greater China. We have now 24 active chapters in China and 8 university chapters. And so far we have 12,000 attendees, and then we have organized 208 events. Here you can find us on WeChat. You can please scan this QR code to follow our official account. And without further ado, let's get into the Zoom on the Hanoi startup ecosystem. And let me invite Lee. She is the Director of Research and Market Intelligence at Founders Lair. And I will stop sharing the screen.
Hey guys, let me just start setting up the presentation. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yep.
Okay, great. Hi guys, my name is Lee. I am part of the Founders Lair team, more specifically the head of research and market insights. My role here today is to share an overview of the Hanoi startup ecosystem with you. But before I go ahead and do that, I will let you know what's on the menu for this presentation. This is what it looks like. So for a starter, I will go over the basics of the ecosystem, and this will serve as the foundation for the main course, which is where I will share our findings from our market research, and then I will highlight a few influential players in the ecosystem. And for dessert, I will serve you an overview of the people who make up the A team in Hanoi. So a little bit of background information to set the mood. Vietnam has 3 major ecosystems, startup ecosystems, and they are Hanoi, Da Nang, and Ho Chi Minh City. Today, we will be focusing on Hanoi, which is known as the technological hub. As many of you also know, it is the capital city of Vietnam, and it is home to more than 8 million people. Now we can start with the starter, and what I'm about to show you is Fair's take on the basic framework of any startup ecosystem. This chart is something we call a donut chart, and I know like a donut is not a typical dish for the starter, but hear me out. I will let you know what I mean. So this is what it looks like. In the center, where the light bulb icon is, or the whole of the donut, we have the startups and founders. And startups and founders are looking for resources that they can use in their entrepreneurial journey. You see 7 groups or 7 segments around this circle, and they are the players that they can tap into in their entrepreneurial journey. What I mean by a player is that it is an entity, be it an organization, a company, an individual who has a role in the ecosystem. So from 3 o'clock here, we have the group incubators and accelerators, corporate innovators, governments, community organizations, support services, educational institutions, and then investors. Each of all of these groups have subcategories within them, the bubbles, and they tell us more in detail what kind of entity the player is. So for example, a player which is in the investors group could then be defined as one or more out of all of these subcategories. Examples of subcategories in the investors group would be VCs, angel groups, investment banks, etc. More often than not, a player can also wear several hats within the ecosystem and therefore be placed in more than one out of the 7 groups. For example, a VC that has an accelerator program can be defined as both an investor player and an incubators and accelerator player. It looks like this, and we call these type of players crossbreeds. What I'm about to show you next is this framework in practice in the Hanoi startup ecosystem. This work has been a joint effort between Hachi and the data team in Lair, at Lair. What I can tell you about this is that we have uncovered 150 players, and we know for a fact that we do miss a few players. However, we have made sure to include the most influential players within the ecosystem as of August 2020. This is what it looks like. I know it can be daunting with all of these icons in the chart. However, what I want you to focus on are the different zones that each of the segments are divided into. You can see that they are divided into 3, and the players that are in the zone which is closest to the startup center, they are the ones that are most active and influential in the ecosystem. The farther the players are from this center, the less influential they are and the less activity they have in the ecosystem. What I want you guys to actually take from this is something that we call the minimum validation points. I am not going to talk about any of the segments or the groups by themselves or any of the specific players right now. However, if you guys are interested in looking at information about any of the groups or any of the specific players, you can go on to founderslair.com to check out our database there. We are also working on a brochure to summarize our findings, and stay tuned for that. And if you guys actually are interested, let us know in the chat or hit us up on DM afterwards. Okay, and now to the minimum validation points. That term tells us more, tells us what kind of groups the startups should consult in order to get a good overview of the ecosystem. That way they have a much bigger chance of getting a more smoother entrepreneurial journey. And the factors that can affect these minimum validation points could be the size of the city or the country. It could be a geographical location. It can be cultural composition. It can be business ethics. And moreover, the validation points can also differ between foreign startups and domestic startups, which belong to the same ecosystem. The reason why is because they are looking for different resources in their entrepreneurial journey. So because this is a cross-promoted event, I will therefore focus on the minimum validation points for foreign startups coming to Hanoi. And as I mentioned earlier, Hanoi is the capital city of Vietnam, which is why the government plays a big role in backing up this ecosystem. Therefore, the first minimum validation point is governments. The second one would be community organizations. The reason why is because community organizations in any ecosystem have the potential to become a very important part of the ecosystem. They are basically breeding grounds for innovation, talent, and they provide a space where different ecosystem players can join and communicate, exchange ideas, insights, and network. Then, depending on the growth stage of the startup, incubators and accelerators and investors can be two other minimum validation points. For startups which are in seed and early stage, they can benefit from incubators and accelerators and be given a head start with all of the resources that they can offer. And for startups which are in Series B funding stage or beyond, they can usually benefit more from investors, players in the investor stage. What kind of players in Hanoi would we like to highlight from these minimum validation points? And this is what I'm about to talk about next. So for governments, we definitely have to talk about MOST, which is an acronym for the Ministry of Science and Technology in Vietnam. It is a government agency which is under the government, and their footprint in the ecosystem is very visible. We definitely have to talk about the Initiative for Startup Ecosystem in Vietnam, which is more commonly known as ISEV or Project 844. And they also do organize the Tech Fest, which is huge. So ISEV is a national program which aims to support the startup ecosystem in Vietnam until 2025. And then Tech Fest is the biggest annual event for startups, and they attract thousands and thousands of attendees, both domestically and internationally, to the ecosystem in Vietnam. Secondly, we have community organizations. And here I would like to highlight Startup Grind Hanoi and WISE. The reason why I want to bring your attention to Startup Grind Hanoi is not because this is an SG event, but because it is a global and a very active player in the ecosystem. Startup Grind Hanoi has been operating since 2016. They have almost 4,000 members, and they are doing really well in organizing local events as well as cross-virtual events with different partners. Then we have WISE, which is an acronym for Women in Startup and Entrepreneurship. Women's Initiative, I'm sorry, guys. Women's Initiative for Startups and Entrepreneurship. It is a leading organization which works for female startups and entrepreneurship. It is working for reducing the underrepresentation of the business owners who are females and who can leverage on innovation. So they are also doing a lot for their members. They are arranging activities with a lot of partners like Startup Grind Hanoi does. And then I will just quickly mention Global Shapers Community, which has a hub in Hanoi. Basically, it is an accumulation or curation of a lot of people in the ecosystem who have a lot of knowledge. So it's basically a knowledge base that the ecosystem can tap into. And then when it comes to incubators and accelerators, we have to talk about Vietnam Silicon Valley, or VSV, which is a leading accelerator. That accelerator program their accelerator program can boast that they have a valuation of 25 million. They have also invested more than 75 times, and they have a very good portfolio and a good track record, which makes them very very attractive for startups. Also, their startup alumni include big names such as Lucy, Ship 60, Base Enterprise, and then True Juice. Basically, they offer a lot to their startups. It's a program which is very popular. And then lastly, we do have the investors, or the local VCs, which are IDG Ventures Vietnam and Vienna Capital. The common denominator between all of these is that they have a lot of experience in their field. Both of them have more than 15 years of experience. They have a lot of capital that they can use to build up the ecosystem. Moving on. Moving on, we at Founders Lair do not only want to highlight the players that are prominent in the ecosystem, we also want to give people who are doing a remarkable job in the ecosystem visibility and appreciation for what they are doing. So what I'm about to show you now are slides of the different people who make the A team in Hanoi. We have decided to divide them into 3 different groups, so community builders, mentors, and then founders. So in the community builders group, we have 5 people. I'm going to say their names. Sorry if I'm butchering them. So it's Hung from Design Bold and Launch. And then we have Cam from Lean in Vietnam, Ha from FIS, Foreign Trade University, Hung from Global Shapers Community, another one that we talked about earlier. And then we have the Kimiko from Women in Tech, and then Wan Q from CSIP. The common denominator between all of these people in the community builders section is that they do also wear different hats in the ecosystem, but they are also the founders of important community organizations that are in the the first zone, which is close to the startup center in Hanoi. Secondly, we have the mentors, and by mentors we mean the seasoned knowledge hubs in the ecosystem. I bet you can recognize some of the faces. We have Ben Nguyen, which is also known as Shark Ben from Shark Tank in Vietnam. We have Bobby, who has a huge presence in Southeast Asia. Namster, who is the co-founder of UpGen, which is a big co-working space company in Vietnam. And then we have Dong from Topica, or Topica Founder Institute. Secondly, we have the founders, and we have in total 5 that we want to highlight. We have Eric, Do, Hung, Hung Tran, and Hung Pham, and then Shane and Koi. All of these people have been through the entrepreneurial journey, and they therefore have a huge knowledge base that the ecosystem can tap into. I wasn't able to talk a lot about the different people. However, if you guys actually are interested in the slides, let us know. You can check out the people and research them. Of course, we should have included Hachi in the slide as well as a community builder. However, because she is the speaker today, I've chosen to omit her from the slides in order to give her fellow community builders a bit of the limelight as well. If you guys are actually interested in the work that we do, either becoming an ambassador to map the ecosystems, you are more than welcome to check out our website, contact us there. Yeah, that's it from me, guys. Thank you, and I will give the virtual mic to Yelta.
Thank you, Lee. Then let me invite Yalta. He's the APAC community leader at Stop Rind. And then Hachi, she's the Hanoi SG director.
Hey all, yeah, welcome, and also thank you for being here today. It's a very sunny day, as you can see in Beijing. Um, as a short side note, I was actually not supposed to be here. Sabrina, the Beijing Star Brand Director, was supposed to do the fireside chat, but she wasn't feeling well, so I had to take over. I hope you still enjoy this in a way. Of course, nobody can be as good as Sabrina, but I tried to do my best here. But I know it's going to be good because I have Hachi here with me, and she knows the Hanoi and Vietnam startup ecosystem pretty well. So please, a warm welcome to Hachi, and would be good if you can say one or two words about yourself and what brought you to community building.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Hachi. I'm the Subject Director of Startup Brand Hanoi. And thank you so much, Yelta, for bringing Vietnam and bringing Hanoi to Beijing and also to everyone here today. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited today to share about this dynamic and like a very active community. And I was raised in Hanoi. So, well, I love it so much. And I found out that the startup ecosystem in Hanoi have its own unique and also its own dynamic. So that's the reason why, like very Hanoian. So that's the reason why I love it, and I really want to contribute to this community. And yeah, if you have any question, if you want me to share anything, I would love to do that. If you want to come to Vietnam, of course, after COVID-19, then yeah, you can contact me, and I will welcome you here.
Actually, that was one of the reasons why we started this event. We got a call from the Vietnam government to do a project actually on the ecosystem, but COVID came in between. Actually, one of our team members was supposed to come to Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh and work together, but it couldn't happen. But anyway, we're still here and really happy about it. You said you love the city, but now share a bit of the good, the bad, the ugly of Hanoi startup ecosystem. Tell us a bit your insights, what you think is good and what's bad.
Well, I think the good, well, of course, let us start with the bad thing first because we save the best for the last, right? So the need to improve, I think, what we want, because we are actually the capital of the country. So it's actually, we actually having these connections between every element within the ecosystem, which is a little bit like low key, and it's not really so active and like so dynamic as like Ho Chi Minh City, for example. But however, we have this very strong connection with each other. And the next one is I was joined the community 5 years ago, and from that the community starts slowly building. And from the very beginning, it's more like everyone knows each other, and then we share with each other everything, and then we come to the event, we meet these like very familiar faces, around like 300 people. But then it slowly built up, and now it changed to be like a very small, group by group. Like the community is like a bit divided into different small group. And if you want to, as a community builder, I have to spend more time and spend more effort to connect each of the group. Yeah. So I think I don't think that it's need to improve, but it's just like it changed in a way. It's a way it changed. And I think as a community builder, it's a challenge for us to really connect to the community. Like we cannot be like the previous time anymore, come to people by person by person, but we need to, into different group and then connect the group to each other. And for the good thing, well, the first thing is, as Lee just said, that the government is actually very support us, and because we are in the capital, so we have this attention. And actually, the government is launching so many new projects and policies and financial support package to support not only the Hanoi community, but also the startup community in overall. And since 2016, our mission is to put entrepreneurship as a heart and as a core development element of the country, and we want to be a startup nation. So that's the reason why the government is actually create so many activities and events and program to support us. And in Hanoi, we have this opportunity to reach out to those programs before, you know, the other city. I know that I'm being not fair, but it's it's happening. Yeah. And the next one is because we divide it into different group, so the connection between everyone within the group is very strong. So like they can really support each other very in a very details. Like for example, if you have problem, if you're a startup, you have this problem with your HR people, then well, there would be someone in the group provide you a support, like give you his or her HR manager to support them and like go into your startup and study and then support you. So I mean, like things are like become more close and more details, especially when COVID-19 happened, when the coronavirus came, and then we was like be more united than ever. Yeah.
Let me dive directly a bit into the negative part, because that's actually something interesting that we have experienced also in other parts of Asia. These spheres, these groups that you mentioned that have really good knowledge about entrepreneurship and how to help startup founders, they're good, but they are also a downside, because entrepreneurship, if you see a community, is usually a huge organism. So if you go to Silicon Valley, for example, it's like everybody supports and helps each other, but I don't like this comparing our Silicon Valley to every city, because every city is different and Silicon Valley is also not that special from my point of view. But what I want to say is a community is good, and the problem is entrepreneurs come from different areas. They either come from the outside, they're foreigners who are scaling startups and they want to enter foreign markets, or they come from the inside, so they come from Hanoi. But if they're not in these spheres, so neither the foreigners coming to Hanoi or the entrepreneurs outside of these spheres will have a good time finding into these spheres. So what is it that currently is happening that you bring them actually together, that you're bringing them in?
I see, I see. So that's a good question. That's a good question. So let's go back to what Lee just said about the minimum validation. So we say that the government is the first one, right? And the second one is the community builder. So actually in Hanoi, I feel like the community builders organization are very valuable with everyone in the community. Like for example, if a foreigners investor come from outside, then they will reach out to the government, or they will reach out to the community building organization, and then they will ask us to, you know, support them, to connect them with the community, and we know exactly what we should do for them and what we want, who we want them to meet. So I mean, the role of the community builder here is, I think, very important. And as because we divide it into different groups, so it's like, for example, in emerging technology, we have Yellow Blocks, which is a very active community builder. And in social impact enterprise community, we have this organization named Seed Planter, which is very active in support the foreigners come in and connect with the local community. So I think, you know, like if you are foreigners and you want to come to Vietnam and you don't know what to do, or like you want to connect with people here, then you should definitely come to the community buildings, come to talk to the community builders here. And well, each area have its own community builder, and we just need to, you know, tap into it, and then the door will open. Yeah.
It's now the outside, like the inbound view. Now coming to the outbound view. Usually when you look at a startup ecosystem, the quality of it depends a lot on the success rate of the entrepreneurs. So once you have 1 or 2 unicorns in your city, then they're usually becoming investors themselves, giving back to the community. Has this life cycle already started? Have any startups from Hanoi made the jump and has been successful to go to other markets and brought back to the community? Or is that still in the future?
Well, that's a very nice question because I see the. Let me tell you a longer story, right? So, like 2 years ago, I think what people want to do for the community and what the community wants is the knowledge about what is fundraising, what is financial management, what is how could you pitch with the investors, and how could you meet the investor, and then where are the resources, kind of like that. So that's 2 years ago, and 3 years ago, I think. And then it slowly built up into the stage of like how many money that I want to raise when my startup hit, like for example, 2,000 million users, for example. So it's like slowly build up from like the knowledge to like how can I raise fund and how should I do it. And then it's like I think right now, to be honest, we have very few startup that can make a big impact and also can go outside from Vietnam and success in another country, or maybe having a big fundraising. However, the number of startup that can raise fund in Series A, Series B, and Series C, it slowly increase, yeah, every month. Of course, when the coronavirus came, then like it's not like that anymore. But I mean, like it slowly built. I mean, it slowly increased. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a sign.
I also did a bit of research about the Hanoi startup ecosystem because I always like to read a bit about investors, what their portfolio companies are about. And I wanted to learn more about Vietnamese startups. One thing that I realized about the ecosystem is two things. First of all, the startups are usually super localized. All of them, I would say 90% of them have their websites in Vietnamese, and only a few have actually information in English, so that makes it quite hard for international capital to get into the market. And the second thing is the entire ecosystem seems to run on Facebook. Like we have the same problem, like we try to communicate and in China it's blocked. And I don't use so many platforms. Well, I use dozens of platforms, but Facebook is still not one of them. And what do you think? Is that a bottleneck currently still for the ecosystem? So Facebook and the language barrier?
The Facebook, yes, and the language barrier, I don't think so. So here's the thing. Yes, you are very correct. So there are so many friends, like foreigner friends, told me that why all of you are always on Facebook. Why don't you answer my message on like LinkedIn or like WhatsApp? I cannot text you on WhatsApp, but I always have your response on Facebook. And I think, it's like a culture. Like, for example, in China, you guys use WeChat, right? So in Vietnam, we use Facebook. And Facebook slowly become a place for everyone to connect both in personal life and in professional life, and slowly build up their personal branding on Facebook. And like it's, for us, it's important to, I think the reason why is because people here, they want to see you as a person, but they not only want to see you as a founder, as a very successful person, or like a professional worker. They want to see, your personal life. They want to see what you're interested of or in, or how's your family, like how, like if you are a successful founder, then are you a success in family life, and did you have, how's your kids, kind of like that. And I mean, maybe because we care about each other, and because we want to know each other in like personally, not only for work, but only personally. Like we want to support each other and we want to really understand each other. So yeah, I think it's a culture. And the next one is the language, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think yeah, for the website, usually in Vietnam we have this I think in here everyone usually think about Vietnamese website before English website, because usually they see the market in Vietnam before they see the global market. You got my point? So because we see that in Vietnam there are so many things are missing, and we can actually provide a lot of products and solutions for the market, so that we want to, you know, we want to do it in Vietnam, in the market that we already know first, and then we go to global later. So I think maybe that's a reason why they create the website in Vietnamese and they don't have time to create the website in English anymore. And but however, if you come to Vietnam, if you talk to any founder here, they all know English. And yeah, it's, I think the language shouldn't be the barrier, but I mean, it's a good reminder for me to remind my founders that, hey, you guys should create a website in English.
Yeah, that's super interesting points that you just mentioned there. The cultural differences actually between Vietnam and China are so vast, because you just say everybody's interested in the personal life. In China, actually, the personal life is a barrier. Like if you're here on WeChat, you don't see faces. You always see comic figures, or like pictures of other people. You don't see the real names. So everybody has a facade, and it's like super hard to see through this. And that's why it's so interesting actually to see how different it is in Vietnam. Even though both are Asian cultures, but they're as far apart as they can be, I guess. Um, and the other one that you just mentioned is also quite interesting, because usually startup founders, they want to change the world. Not just the problem in their home country, but they want to change the world. But they start tackling, of course, the local issues, but then they hit the bottleneck because the local market is too small and they won't get capital. And I think that's a strong point if you compare, for example, Singapore with Vietnam, that Singapore has, because they all start internationally, because they all know Singapore is too small as a market, so you have to go scale already. And then they do a bit in Singapore. Do you think this is something that the local farmers need to adapt, especially those that want to start right now in Vietnam?
Could you paraphrase again the question?
Okay. So you said Vietnamese farmers want to solve the problems in Vietnam first and then go international. And I say, wouldn't it be better to first stand internationally and make yourself visible, and by doing so, solving the local problems?
Well, I see. I understand your question. So let me put it this way. I'm not saying that Vietnamese people always want to, you know, to serve the local market first. All of them are having very big like vision, and they want to change the world. They want to change. They want to create a big successful company. However, what we see here is Vietnamese is very famous of like our proud about our country, right? We fight with so many like during so many wars. We always fight and then we win, and then we're very proud of our country. We have this like Vietnamese, you know, spirit. So I mean, like if you come here, you can see that there are so many things that everybody here said, like we miss so many things. We want to develop our country first. We want Vietnamese people to be strong, and the society society here is as strong as Europe, or as strong as in American. We want everyone here have the same quality of life conditional as in the Europe, or as in the US, or in the other developed country. So I mean, from my perspective, it all comes from like, we see the problem in the market. We want to solve it first because we're familiar with the market. We understand the market. And also we we want to do something for our country. And for example, I'm currently working with the biggest corporation in Vietnam called Vingroup. And if you search for it on Google, then the mission of it is to bring a better life to Vietnamese people. So I mean, we have this like very strong spirit, and it's spread out, and it's like it's in our blood. I mean, yeah. So, well, some of the startup, yes, they want to go global and they want to target to the foreign country first, and then come back to Vietnam later. But usually, most of the people here, they start from local market first because they understand the market, and also they want to change and they want to develop the country, I think.
Yeah, makes complete sense. An interesting fact that I found, 500 Startups Vietnam, a lot of the portfolio companies are actually Vietnamese, but they don't have a base in Vietnam. So they have Vietnamese founders and they're sitting somewhere in the US or in Singapore. And it's super, you have to do your reading to figure out, oh, that's actually a Vietnamese startup. But that's quite interesting. So that's actually the two sides there right now. Coming a bit to the corporate side, we have a question here from Claude Sebastian Lerbout. I hope I pronounced that right. My French is a bit rusty. And I guess he's in Hanoi because he doesn't have WeChat, at least that's what I saw there. So is there some industries or specific technology which are more dynamic or successful than others in Hanoi?
Pardon? I'm trying to search for his question.
You can click on Q&A. Should I read it again?
Yes, please.
So are there some industries or specific technologies which are more dynamic or successful than others in Hanoi?
Oh.
What's the hot tech and hot industries?
Yeah. So I think how to say, well, in Vietnam, we we like training. We like trending things, and we like to catch all the hot tech and trending thing in the world. So basically, what is really hot right now, and everybody is actually talking about it, is the emerging technology like AI, big data, and well, it's IBDC basically, right? Like AI, data cloud, and blockchain, and big data. So it's, well, everybody is like talking about it every day, and I saw a lot of new startup is formed and trying to bring blockchain and AI to Vietnam. Yeah.
Just one side note in the chat, somebody wrote also fintech. That's probably something that's true as well, because most of the startups that I saw had some fintech solutions, and a lot of the corporate players supporting right now in the Vietnam ecosystem are banks. So that is one thing. Question regarding emerging tech. One of the bottlenecks is talent. How is talent? So if I go there and I want to open my office or Founders Lair in Hanoi, will I get good AI machine learning talent, or will I struggle?
Well, you can come. I can introduce you to some like expert here.
But do you see any problems right now with the talent in terms of cultural language barrier, or any certain area where you say this is not as developed as in other regions?
Well, I mean, it's back to the point that you just said, that there are so many startups in Vietnam that having headquarters not in Vietnam but in Singapore or in Israel or in Hong Kong, right, or in Taiwan. So the point is, I think what our government trying to do is they create a lot of policies, new policies, and projects to support the startup. However, we are like, you know, we are trying to develop the policies to have the attention from the startup founders to bring their company back to Vietnam. But like, it's a problem right now. So I think what we can do, we just need to wait, and then, you know, like, to push everyone and to let everyone knows that they have good support here. And of course, there are so many barriers. However, I think the government is trying to cut down the barriers day by day. So the startup now, they actually can feel the spirit very strongly here. Back to the point, your question is about like, if you open a company here in Vietnam, is there any barrier about like language or finance or something, right?
Mm.
It very depends on which area that you want to tap in. Seriously, because for example, if you want to open a tourism company related to tourism company like AI or tech or something like that, then there are different laws about it, and it's not really support the foreigners here to having a tourism company here in Vietnam. However, if you are a foreigner, you want to open a technology company about like education, for example, then you are very welcome. So it's very depends on which area that you are in. And well, you can find me later and I will introduce you to an expert. I'm not an expert in this, to be very honest.
A little follow-up question: are there industries that are prohibited for foreign entrepreneurs to tap into in Hanoi? Like education, or are there any industries that are prohibited that foreigners are, for example, not allowed to start in? In China, for example, for a long while, education was not allowed, biotech was not allowed. Yeah, a lot of other industries. Is there anything that's not allowed for foreigners to tap into that you know of?
It's actually very open here. You can do everything here, actually. And well, of course, there's a little bit, there's few area that having, you know, more intention and you get more hard, more difficult if you want to open it. For example, fintech. For example, well, I'm actually think only about fintech now, but like you actually can open everything here, and the government is very support. Because, you know, we want to be a startup nation, so we actually very support and we welcome like almost everything. And about the trend, like because you mentioned about education technology, about like 3 years ago, I feel like there's so many people want to do education technology, ed tech like startup, because, you know, to be very honest, our education here is not as good as other countries. So I feel like so many people want to do ed tech startup. However, now they start thinking about like service provider technology startup. Like for example, SaaS startup. For example, company management tools like technology, or like AI or blockchain using AI and technology, using AI and blockchain technology. So I mean, like it's more on serving your company now than like kind of like education technology is like more social. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a couple of very interesting questions actually in the Q&A section. I want to cover a few of them. Maybe one that you can answer quite quickly. Is there a good community around AI startups that you can recommend?
Pardon? I'm trying to find the questions. Where is it?
Oh, you need to, if you go on the bottom, there is a Q&A. You just click that and then you should have a window hovering on the side. So
right,
question,
yeah, I saw it.
the question is there a good community for AI startups or AI talent or anything that you can recommend?
Ooh, this is a very nice question. This is actually like what we're trying to do here in Vietnam. So is there a community around AI startup? Yes, there is a strong community around AI startup, and actually focusing on develop the young generation to learn code, to learn to be a developer, and to support them to learn more than what they can learn in the school. And what percent of younger population goes into coding? I don't know. But like I can tell you a story about that. Like 2 weeks ago, I came to my because my one of my best friend is working for an AI startup here called Cinnamon AI, and I saw a young boy was born in 2000 is coding and learning code in that company and being an intern. So I mean, it's it's inspiring because you know, like in here Vietnam, we always want to be as trending and as as you know as technology as possible. So yeah, so yeah, we're
Yeah,
focusing on develop the young generation.
I think every ecosystem would like to be as techy as possible. Could you mention shortly the name of the community, or is that just a Facebook group that people have to get into?
Yes, it's not a Facebook group. Like it's not a real, how to say, it's not a physical community, but like it's a small community that people know each other. They're doing AI every day, and they are like different startup doing AI, and they know each other and they talk to each other. The founders, they share the knowledge, they share the thing. So I mean, again, it's a bit, I know it's a bit hard for you to join the community, but like you just need to know one, like you just need to know one person in that small community, and then you're slowly going to know everyone else. So like
Yeah.
you can actually search, oh, in my heroes slide, there is a guy named Eric Kniam, which is the director of Cinnamon AI technology startup. So you can actually tap into him and talk to him.
So Nick, if you're still listening, reach out to Hachi. She can make the introduction, and then you have an entry point actually to the AI community. So that's actually why we're doing things, trying to get entry points to ecosystems. And let's see, is there any other interesting question? A lot of things are going in the direction of support. You are into AI education. You mentioned there is support for such startups. What is a good start point to read more on this? I think I don't get it. Well, I'm just gonna say we answered that live. Nick, please rephrase that in the, or can we make you live? 1 second, let me just find you.
Yeah, Nick, actually, I think the best person to answer this question shouldn't be me because I have like zero background about technology. So if you're interested in this and you want to tap into the AI community here, I would love to introduce you with two person. The first one is Eric Niemet, as I just said, and the second one is his name is Stephen. He is one of my best friends in university, and he is the founder of AI AIBC, which is the, let me search for his company again. I don't remember it. But like he's doing AI here, and he is having good connection with everyone in the community. So I think that you can have a chat with him, and maybe you can get more information. Yeah.
Then we have Amy Fan. She's asking if COVID has any positive or negative impacts on the entrepreneurship realm. Is it more good or bad in terms of the collaboration probably, or the community sense? What do you see right now?
So it's happening with all the community, right? With every community. I think the good point, the bad point first. Bad point, it knocked down who not having high IQ. And there are so many founders talk to me, and they are like struggling every day with their own startup, with their own financial problem of the startup. And if it show a fact that actually in Vietnam, to be very honest, as a community builder, I was trying to help the startup in Vietnam having a strong financial background in financial management, because it's a problem here. And usually the founder having very good management skill and good vision and the good sense with the market. However, they're not really good at financial management, to be very honest, and they must spend so many time to work on the financial if they want to raise fund at the moment that they want to raise fund. So back to the point that it knocked down all the startup that having weak financial management. Even you have a good idea, even you have a very high daily active user, for example, but if you're not having good financial management, then COVID-19 come in, then you still die. That's the first thing. The second bad thing is like it testing the market. It's how to say it's the demand of the market is changing. For example, I have a friend who is doing insurance technology startup, which is very successful by raising fund on Shark Tank, a television TV show, and he has this strong interesting, like he had this strong attention from investors. However, COVID-19 come in and no one cares about insurance anymore. What they care is like you know, living every day and kind of like that, and no one cares about like buying your insurance. They don't care about like spending your money to buying something that you don't want to use. That's a meaning of the insurance, right? So like he had this, he got trouble, and he's trying to save his startup. So I mean, it's the demand of the market is changing, and it's also demand the startup to change their strategy and their product. But the good thing, I think, what I can feel from right from when the COVID-19 the coronavirus came is everybody is start being so united, and we start calling each other group by group. We start talking to each other more because, you know, we have more time staying at home. We don't need to go meet partners and, you know, meetings and, you know, anymore. So we have more time to talk to each other, and the more we talk to each other, the more we can actually support each other in a very practical way. And the next thing is we start slowly using each other's product. So for example, in the previous time, if I want to use, if I want to manage my recruitment process, I'm gonna think about foreigners vendor. However, now we start thinking about the product of the startup in Vietnam, and let's say just a question mark, why don't we buy this? Because they need our help, and we also want to help them because we're Vietnamese. Kind of like
That's
that.
really, really nice thing, actually. Happy to hear this. That's a dynamic that you don't see that often happening. So it's a really nice thing. A quick question, which accelerator do you think is a good address to run a corporate program?
Pardon?
Which accelerator or incubator would you recommend to run a corporate innovation program?
A corporate innovation program.
Yeah. Is there anybody that you would recommend who's doing something good?
I think you can come to Think Zone.
Think so.
The first name come up in my mind is Think Zone.
Okay. So that's to
accelerator. They are accelerator. Yeah.
Yeah. Then short one from Chance. Any tech startup blogs or media that people can subscribe to if they're interested in Hanoi?
In Hanoi, in the Hanoi ecosystem, does she mean that?
Yeah.
Yep. You can subscribe, but they are all in Vietnamese. Let me think about like English one. Okay. English one. Okay. Startup Rind. And
E27 probably, something like this.
yeah.
So they're
and for Viet, well, you better say this yet because you were a foreigner and that you were trying to learn about Vietnamese about Hanoi startup ecosystem. So you should tell them about the international resource, that, you know, the international touch point that they can tap in. From my perspective, for Vietnamese people, you guys can follow first Up Cooking Space, which is a very active and dynamic community for Hanoi. Second one is Tong, Up Cooking Space. Next one is Startup Rind. Next one is Vietnam Silicon Valley. So yeah.
Some good names there. We are unfortunately coming to an end. I enjoyed this a lot, and Hachi, you did a great job of giving some information and insights about the Hanoi ecosystem. One thing before we end, actually, I would like to do a very, very quick fire question. Are you a cat or a dog person?
Cat. Ah, sorry, dog. sorry.
No. You cannot say no. You first said cat. Then a book you would recommend to read about entrepreneurship.
Pardon?
A book that you would recommend to read for people about entrepreneurship.
Lenin.
Okay.
It's not really to entrepreneurship, but like.
It's okay. It's okay. Any book counts actually. And who is the most exciting person that you would recommend anybody to meet that you've met before?
Wow. I have two persons in my mind. The first one is Katie, which is the person in the chapter director in Ho Chi Minh City right now. If you come to Vietnam, if you want to talk, if you want someone who really care about you and really have this strong dynamic spirit, then you should definitely meet her. The next one is Eric. He have this very calm feeling when I met him, and like you can talk to him very deeply about the technology in Vietnam. So and
say his name, like his full name again, just for the recording.
Hachi, and the next one is Eric Nguyen.
Okay, cool. All right, and then last but not least, Hanoi chapter also could use any support if anybody of the audience is actually interested in joining the community, supporting, helping out. Please reach out. If any of you needs support in diving into the ecosystem, Hanoi, please also don't hesitate, reach out to Hachi, either on LinkedIn, but faster as Facebook, as you've learned. And yeah, we will share later on also the video and the slides, everything that we created. And if anybody's interested in exploring by themselves the ecosystem, go to fondoslair.com. Hanoi ecosystem is mapped there, and you can dive into and let us know what you think. Hachi, any final words?
Yeah, I just want to add in because it's like pouring in my mind another person called Kimiko. You guys can search for her on the internet. She is a woman in tech, and she has a very strong background in technology, and also a very dynamic person to support all the startup ecosystem. So yeah, and thank you very much, you guys, for being here today. I would love to welcome you all to Vietnam, Hanoi. And if you have any question, if you want to tap into any area in Hanoi ecosystem, just text me on Facebook, on WhatsApp, or like on LinkedIn. I promise I will log in on LinkedIn and answer you guys.
Video. It's on video.
Yeah, and yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lee, Sabrina, and Yasmin and Jackie to be here today to support me to do this.
It was a pleasure. Take care. Have a nice weekend, and hopefully see you soon. Thank you, and thank you all for listening in. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.